Hi guys, this is Alicia with Good Morning Sunshine. I had my first day of veterinary school today. We had a full day. Only 8 to 4, we were supposed to be 8 to 5, but our first professor squeezed in the 4 o'clock lecture into his morning lecture, so that was really nice. But anyways, a lot actually happened today. So I did have a long day at school, but then I came home to my grandma not feeling well, and then my mom had gotten into a car accident. She is okay, it wasn't her fault, but still it really sucks. She kind of got T-boned, so her car's not looking too hot, but she is okay, grateful for that. She's just had a rough day. She is starting her new job on Wednesday. It just kind of sucks because she was leaving her job today and then got hit, so it was very unfortunate. But yeah, so the point of these videos, or my true sitcoms, are to talk about my days in vet school, so I can look back on these videos and retain information or recall information. So each day I'm going to talk about what I learned that day. Sorry, I got emails going on there. So then, yeah, like I said, I can go back and look at the videos no matter how far I am into the program, so I can remind myself everything I've learned, so it'll help me retain information. I think it's going to be beneficial. It might be pretty boring for you guys, but if you want to become a vet, maybe it'd be semi-interesting. I think the stuff is interesting. Some stuff might be boring, but this is the field I love, so hopefully it's not too boring for you guys. But yeah. So today we learned about domestication. There's many definitions of domestication, but the basic term is animals around the house, or like a close partnership between humans and animals with genetic changes. They usually try to add in reproduction into that, but there is a major exception to that, which is cats, because they can reproduce on their own. They don't need help from humans. So we were just staying with the very generic definition of it. Some wild species actually favor to be close to humans, and there are many reasons why. I think some reasons are diet, growth rate. The faster equals better. If they have a faster growth rate, that's better. And then they're easily reproduced in captivity, disposition, limited tendency to pain, and social structure. However, of course, there's exceptions to these as well, like the limited tendency to pain one. This would be horses. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, there's many things that have changed due to domestication. Actually, our brain size. So we used to have bigger brains, and then I guess we're domesticated as well, so our brains have also shrunken, but same in animals too. So there was an early increase in size that has to do with birds. There was an early decrease in size, but that has to do with mammals. There was a decrease in flight distance being how close you can approach an animal before it decides to run away, fly away, you know. And then there's color change, which actually changes how the brain is organized. Retain neotenic characters. And then we have, of course, I talked about the decrease in cranial capacity. So our brains are shrinking, so are animals' brains. So basically we're not as smart as once were. And then we have increase in genetic variability. So then we also learned about transport animals. So you guys probably know what those are. You would think of camels. Camels help with us move from one place, point A to point B. So that's basically how I think of transport animals. They have very low reproductive rates, as camels do. We don't really use camels for eating, so the bigger the animal, the less we ate. So like chickens, we eat a lot because they're small. But then we also have brain sizes from biggest to smallest. We talked about a few of those. We have ARCs. I don't even know how to say that. I don't know. But then we have the park cattle, and then the beef cattle, and then the dairy cattle. So from biggest to smallest. And then we talked about who domesticated first. It was dogs. They are from wolves. And then we have goat, sheep, pig, cattle, donkey, horse, buffalo, ferret, rabbit, duck, and of course lab animals are still being tested for domestication. So, and then we got into a few definitions. So we got into breeds, which are animals similar enough to be grouped together, and they produce the same type when interbred. Then we have the standardized breed, which we breed to conform to a certain standard. And then we have gentrification, which is moving one animal from their original region to a new region. So an example of this would be like breeding dogs, and because they're used for a different purpose. So we breed dogs for what we could breed for fighting, which not good, but that's just an example. And then we have industrial stock, which is a subset of a genetic breed. It's selected for outstanding performance, like dairy cattle. And then we have landrace, which is a genetic breed that is isolated by default. There's no standard and no organization. And then we have feral. You can think of feral cats, I guess. And they never return to their feral state. Like, once you become domesticated, you will forever be domesticated. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the general pattern is you go from domestication to a landrace to a standardized breed to industrial stock. And each step narrows genetic variation, but it increases predictability. So there's some animals that could have become extinct, and those are cattle and horses if they were not domesticated. And then, did you know dogs are only different by 7 loci? I did not know that. That's very interesting to me. And then we learned about the predatory sequence, which starts with an orient, and then it goes to the eye, and then it goes to the stalk, and then it goes to the chase, and then the grab and bite, and then crush, kill, and bite, and then you dissect it, and then you consume it. And then, I don't know if this question came to mind, but what dogs are smartest? So wolves are just, like, when you think of the cranial thing I was talking about earlier, how we started with bigger brains, so wolves would have been on top. And then next would be hybrids, and then last would be Malamutes. And then we talked about the different breeds of dogs. There's many different. We have our sight hounds, which are our greyhounds, because they have the binocular vision eyes up front. And then we have our scent hounds, which are bassets. They have the big ears, coonhounds, foxhounds, and they make a lot of noise. And then we have pointers. Pointers are used for hunting, of course. And then we have retrievers. We have the golden retriever, the Labrador retriever, and poodles are also putting into this mix. And we use them as service dogs. We actually have 3 labs on our campus. And then we have spaniels, which would be the Cocker Spaniel. And they combine pointing and retrieving. And then we have terriers, which are meant to be aggressive and kill. I did not know that. And then we have fighters, which we as humans make dogs fighters. These would be the pit bulls, the Kias, the Rottweilers. And then we have herding dogs, which you have herders, and then you have healers. And then you have the livestock guardians, which are, of course, Great Pyrenees. They're non-predatory, and they're usually white. And then we have your mastiffs. So we have Dobermans and, of course, mastiffs. They vary by use. They can be used for many things, even companionship. They can be used for fighting, guarding, and for draft. And then we have the Spitz, which are your huskies. And then we have your giants, which are used for draft and rescue. And then last, we have toys and pets, which are our companion animals, like chihuahuas and pugs and all of those little tiny things. And then we have feral dogs as well. They included Basenjis in this, which are village dogs. And then after we talked about dogs, we went into sheep, which were domesticated 11 to 12,000 years ago. They didn't become different breeds until 5,000 years ago. They had some major changes in their horns, their tail length. They have shorter, thicker leg bones. Their color and their fat deposits changed in their rump and in their tail. And then wool comes after domestication has already happened. There's many different kinds of wool. And then we got into goats, which were their first ruminants that were domesticated. They had changes in their horns, their ears, and their profile. And then we got into cattle. They have a symbol that means eternal life, which is a cow's lumbar vertebrae upside down. This is their symbol if you look it up. Cattle has many uses. You could probably guess a lot of them. We listed a few, which were milk, meat, draft, leather, manure. Horns, if you heat up their horns, they can turn into plastic. I didn't know that one. Used as a wealth symbol back in the day. Sacrifice, bride's price, and bank account. But the most important thing we have to remember for the test is that cattle helped us eradicate smallpox. So, we have different cattle that are grouped, and here they are in order. Number 1 was the humpless longhorn, then we have the humpless shorthorn, and then we have the longhorn zebus, and then the shorthorn zebus. Also, if you're wondering what draft means, it's agriculture and labor use, how we use those animals. And then we went into deer, which was we were told that were poor for domestication. Swine we use as scavengers. I'm sure you've heard of the swine flu. And then all the pigs got killed due to it. And then they didn't really think about it, because then they had a lot of garbage left over because they no longer had pigs to eat up their garbage. And then we had landslides in Haiti because they cut down all the trees to produce charcoal. And then landslides were created because they didn't have the trees to hold anything up. And then we have swine changes, which is a concave face, curly tail, large lop ears, and fatness, then leanness. Then we talked about donkeys, which we call asses. They were used for threshing grain, packing, caravans, riding meat and milk. They are half of the world's equines. I didn't know that either. And then we had camels. Love the camels. I think I talked about this in the beginning, where as transport animals. They are replacing the wheel in Egypt. They are ideal for sand deserts and packing meat, milk, and for the draft too. Then we have dromedary camels, which are used for riding, packing, draft, and dairy. But then we have the Bactrian camels, which are used for packing draft, fiber, meat, and milk. And then we have the llama. I love llamas. They're so cute. Mama llama. They had 2 events of domestication. And then we have the alpaca, which we use their super fine wool. And then cats, their domestication was passive. I talked about how they were their exception. And then we talked about rabbits. Monks actually controlled this breeding. And fetal rabbits are not meat. Don't eat them. And then we talked about guinea pigs, which are pets, or the cavies and kuys. I don't even know how to say it. C-U-I-S. I don't know. But they're used for dinners. They're used in ritual medicine, and apparently the black ones are the best. And then we talked about birds. Like I said earlier, they're first increase in size, and some actually nest towards humans to avoid predators. This would include wrens and magpies. And then we have fowl, which were used for the cockfights and for religion, and then finally for meat and eggs. Then we have the guinea fowl, which had 2 domesticated species. They actually became extinct, and they got reintroduced in 1300 AD by the Portuguese. And then we have the turkey, which is used for meat and eggs and for pest control. And then we have the duck, which increased in size, lost its ability to fly, and apparently the breeds are very important. Then we talked about egg layers. Ducks can form eggs in less than 24 hours. Hens produce eggs in just over 24 hours. Ducks can ovulate every day, won't miss a day, but hens periodically miss a day. And then we talked about goose, or geese, I guess. There's 2 species, and they domesticated from Egypt. And then we have the pigeon, which we bred for squaw meat. And then that was it for our domestication lecture. And then we went into equine handling. how to put a halter on a horse, which I went to the skills lab and figured that out. That one's pretty straightforward. We have to know how to put it on, get a horse out of a stall and back into the stall safely. I think I have that lab on Wednesday. And then we have a bovine. Bovine means cattle. I didn't know that, but I learned that today. We have that lab. I think I have it at the end of this week. We have to know also how to put a slip knot harness on. So I have to learn how to tie a slip knot. I have to watch those videos, which I'm trying to understand. And then we have to capture a cow with a head stall. So I have to learn how to do that as well. And then we got into small animal restraint and handling, which I already know most of that stuff because I worked with small animals at Clage, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm not focusing on that. But I was going to show you something funny. It was in a PowerPoint. I have to find it here. I just thought it was really funny. So I'm going to show you guys, because maybe you guys, well, all my coworkers laughing will probably get a crack out of this. So this, hold on. It has to do with cat restraints. But it says never ever. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I feel like that's how we draw blood on cats at our work. And it says this is how we're supposed to do it. No cat is really that nice. Like, none of them. But I think they're trying to teach us the towel technique and to always use a towel. But some cats are just not nice. Most cats are not nice. I may have a bias against cats, but yeah. But anyways, we learned all that. We learned about cattle. They have horizontal eyes, so they can see a lot of their peripheral vision. That's hard for me to say because my lisp, I just noticed my lisp is getting really bad. I can't even say lisp. Anyways, they can see all the way back to their hip. So do not stand behind a cattle because that's bad. They cannot see you and they will be easily frightened by that. Also, you want to approach and do everything from the left side. Same with horses. You want to do everything from the left side as well. They didn't know why. I don't know. Anyways, you hold the cow with its head up. But horses, you usually hold them with their head down. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I think, oh no, that is not all we learned today. I know that's not all we learned today. Because then we went into cell structure. I forgot about that. We had another lecture. There's just so much information. Anyways, we were learning things from undergrad. Anatomy and physiology go hand in hand. What's anatomy? It's the structure. What's physiology? The function. So they do go hand in hand. And then, let's see. This is being dumb. Sorry. I can't remember everything we learned, right? And then we talked about homeostasis, which is the ability for an organism to return back to its stable functional state after it's been changed by internal or external factors. Disease is basically having a hard time returning to homeostasis, or the homeostatic mechanisms are very overwhelmed. And then we talked about feedback control, which we have negative and positive feedback. Negative feedback is mostly used in our bodies. An example of this, we talked about negative feedback as a thermometer. So you have the thermostat, and then so you have a sensor, an integrator, and an effector. So a sensor would indicate when it's too hot or too cold and tell the integrator, and then it has to come up with adjustments. And then from there, it tells what the effector would be the furnace to turn on or off. So then we have that, and then we talked about negative feedback. We also talked about positive feedback. So a product feeding back in a positive way. I think he said this has to do with glycolysis, I want to say. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, so we learned all that. I think that's it. I think that's it. I could be wrong. I could be missing a whole PowerPoint. I actually don't really know. But anyways, I think that's it. So I hope you guys, I know this was probably really boring, but it was really beneficial for me, so I'm sorry, but not sorry. I love you guys, and I hope you guys all had a great day, and I hope you have a good night too. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And thank you for listening to my rant about domestication and cell structure and equines and bovine.